leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Gandhi, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Car era lore. Call me Levi playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Refuse not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a
boy.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo, lets everyone know we're here, and does us a solid. We're also live in the X video feed on my account, as well as my abstract feed. Go hit us up, drop us those GMs in those chat, as well as the YouTube streets. Shout out to Von Frunton and RDL, Big Bear, our regular YouTube GMers over there. Appreciate all the love this morning and hope everyone's Friday's off to a great start. As always, I'm Captain, my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice in the show. Crypto's risky, NFTs are risky, meme coins exception risky, go to zero to moment's notice. Please don't put any money in you can't afford to lose, and know that Steve and I also tokens we'll talk about from time to time here in the show. So please know that we are not financial advisors, certainly not your financial advisors. Just join us for some fun information and maybe a little bit of education along the way. GM Steve, how you doing, sir?
GM, doing well. It is Friday. It's a busy Friday. I actually normally keep my Fridays relatively open, but I got a ton of meetings and things going on today, so we're going to make it work. But do us a favor.
Looking forward, I shout out to, real quick, shout out to General Wags out in the chat. A regular listener, how you know the General's a regular listener is if you're not new here, you know that I'm bad at DMs. It's an excuse. I need to get better. It's a weakness in my life. I blame the group chats, but I still could navigate it as there's people out there like Luca who will reply to a DM in like 7 seconds. And I'm sure he's probably, his DMs probably look a lot more of a wreck than mine. So it is an excuse, but I at least admit it in public. The best way to get my attention if I'm ignoring a DM, tag me in the comments on this show, or just blast me on the timeline and say you dropped me a DM and check it. And you'll almost get an immediate response. I'm not ignoring you on purpose. I just am really bad at managing my own Twitter DM inbox specifically. usually pretty decent about text, but I'm just not a good responder because often I will see a message, but if I'm head down focus mode, I will like, oh, I'm going to get back to this person later with a thoughtful response and then get 17 other things and forget to go back. So I apologize in advance, but yeah, long story short, little meeting with General Wags this afternoon. Looking forward to that one, and salute for tagging me on the timeline to get my attention. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's it's awesome. By the way, I feel you on that as well. So does Rene, it sounds like, but it's crazy. I think about like Gary Vaynerchuk responding to DMs, and I'm like,
I don't know how they do it.
I can't. Or like our I mentioned sometimes on the show, like the CEO of Progressive, Trisha, who I absolutely adore. I think she's great at her job, great at what she does. She responds to emails quickly.
I think it's a personality thing. I think it's either something you prioritize or you don't prioritize it. I believe if I prioritized it, I would be very good at it. It's like, I'm just admitting, like, this is who I am. Like, I just choose not to make it a priority. I believe if it's important, someone will get a hold of me. The most important people in my life, they have my cell phone, and I will respond to. Actually, the most important people have two of my cell phone numbers to track me down if I'm not responding to text on one. Calls are forwarded, so I'll get every call. But long story short, I just believe if it's that important, they'll get a hold of me. If you're in this space, you know where I am every Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 Eastern. So I'm not that difficult to get a hold of. You can tag me in the chat. You will get my attention if it's that important. And so I feel like, I know it's not spam, but I view almost all my inboxes as I same way I view my email. And 80% of my email, probably more, is spam that I'm not interested in. So I just don't prioritize it. I will check my email. There's things that I will open up, but most things just go unopened. Like, so people with OCD, I would probably give a heart attack, at least a mini anxiety attack, if they looked at any of my unread messages. One inbox, it's a relatively new email, has 30,000 unread. And I have friends who are the exact opposite. They're like constantly inbox zero. Like, it's just, I believe I can teach myself the skill. I just don't want to. I just don't want to make email or messages such a priority in my life because the volume is such. I feel like it would take hours a day, and I don't know as if there's an opportunity cost I'm missing out on by not being on top of everyone instantly. Much respect to those who do it. I appreciate it when I get instant responses. So it's like I see the value in it. It's just not my journey. My bad person, Steve.
No, it's just something you can't do very well. I'm not very good at it either. I'm spotty. I'm so like, and the worst is sometimes I'll get back to someone and I'll arrange something, and then like they take a few days to get back to me, and next thing you know, it's like take me a week to get back. Rainey says got the email.
You're gonna give me, reply 7 days later. I'll reply 14 days after you reply back.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's just hard to keep track of everything. But Rainey mentions like always got the mail at inbox zero. Yeah, I mean, I used to be that person when I was at certain jobs, and then once I got to a certain level, I just couldn't do it anymore, and it's just not something I'm good at. I think it's also like, are you more like scattered and less organized? Because I am, and I know you are. We're a little more scattered on things, and that's why like look, I have a wife who is hyper organized, and if not for her, I'm not sure if my kids would get to every soccer camp and every other thing.
Debating where to take this. So like yes, I prioritize that stuff. Like I'm very fortunate. I work from home. I do more than this 8 to 10 every day. Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't have to. Like if I have something going on in my life, I can work 2 hours a day and go do whatever else I need to do in my life. But I am the one who I do everything at my home. Like I walk the dog, I take the trash out, I do the dishes, I do the laundry, I clean the house. Like I am take care of my kid's school, my kid to the doctor, my kid's sports. Like I do all that stuff, like 100% of everything for like taking care of the household and my daughter. And that's far more important than responding to someone's email in a second or someone's direct message. And maybe that changes. Like she's out of the house probably in a year, and maybe my focus shift a little bit. But on that topic, I have a question for the chat this morning, Steve.
Okay.
Contact was made at the gym.
Oh, with your gym crush, huh?
Said hello, introduced myself, gave my humble confession. I told her that I basically like that was what I led with the story of yeah, like last week, I followed you on isolated leg press, and just gotta tell you, I couldn't walk for a week. Like I did it the first time. I was like, oh, I could. This is a little more than normal. And then I looked at the weight. I'm like, oh, this is more than I normally do. But I wasn't gonna take any weight off. And so I did the full. I did my full full reps, full set, and then I got off and literally couldn't walk the next week. But you've inspired me to like actually step up my game and stop going through the motions at the gym. So thanks for being strong, basically. And long story short, here's the question. So introduced myself, right from the jump, got her name. After I was leaving the gym later, she like flags me down, takes out my earphone. She's like, I'm so sorry. I am horrible at names. I'm like, oh, I'm Chris. Nice to meet you. And I repeated her name. Is it a bad sign that she forgot my name? Or is it a good sign that she made it a point to come get my name again after she did forget it?
I'm entering this with very little context outside of what you've told me. However, my gut feeling, and this is not just pumping up the boys, is it's a very good sign because, like, look, I don't know.
I really spit out my coffee.
I don't know anything about like this, gym crush outside if you have a gym crush and you did the leg press after her and then you found an opening to introduce yourself, right? Now, again, depends on how she views it. Like I am one who, with no expectations, there's probably people who think I hit on them all the time because I just like to talk to people, right? But
same. But
I was going to say real quick, but to answer your question, my inclination, it is a great sign because it means that if she didn't want to remember your name, like if you didn't remember her name, she'd be like, oh, I don't remember the name, whatever, I'm out, right? Like that's a very easy thing to do. Like we've all been at a networking event or something and maybe talked to someone who's been like, oh, this person, like I got to get out of here. And then you don't remember their name and you're like, whatever, it is what it is. So I think it's a great sign personally. I mean, and again, what do I know? I haven't dated anybody for 25 years, basically, unless you count the fact that I'm still dating my wife. So I've been pretty locked down for a quarter of a century here. Yeah, man, I think it's a great sign. Like if I told someone my name and then they forgot it and they flag me down to like be like, hey, sorry, I don't remember it or whatever. Like, I think that's a good thing. The big thing I think is like, I don't know if it's me. And again, I don't know shit about this. You're probably asking the wrong person, but like, I wouldn't force it, but like where there are natural reactions, you can kind of slow play something like that. So I think it's a good sign, man.
Oh yeah. This is also probably going to get me in trouble with some, but I thinking about how I say this again. I enjoy the process. I enjoy the game. Sorry, not sorry.
No, I mean, it's like, it's not
and with no malicious intentions whatsoever. Just like I enjoy meeting new people and I'm just going to stop talking before
I mean, like, dude, like butterflies are fun. Like, that's cool, man. Like, it's something where it's like, there's a little bit of nervousness. There's a little bit of butterfly. Like, that's a good thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, like before, it's like people act like
pre-show. We'll do this at this will be the 5 a.m. show. I'll live stream secretly from the gym.
No, you just got to try the Aziz Ansari. Be like, hey, every time I go to the gym, I stare at your face, right? Like that'll get her going. But I dude, it's just, it's part of like, like when you say like, I enjoy, it's like, cool, man. Like, that's kind of like people have like gotten so probably like 10, 15 years ago, people got very uptight about it because they were worried about things because there was a lot of bad people who rightfully got in trouble for a lot of bad shit. But I think for someone like you, it's like, you got a crush on someone. You had a conversation with them. You had a good interaction. They wanted to double down and like, so I mean, there's probably like, a million ways you could play it from there, depending on how it goes. Like you could, I could see you like saying something and telling her a different name tomorrow as a joke. It's like, there's all these different ways to approach it, but like,
might have been the play.
Yeah. There's a bunch of, or it's like, I don't know, like there's a bunch of ways you could play it that you could be like, oh yeah, my name is, and like repeat and say your name is her name, right? There's a billion ways you could play it and be like clever on the spot, or do things in the future. But like, yeah, see where it goes, man. That's fun. Like, and who knows? It might just be a friendly interaction and they're just like a friendly person and they're married or whatever. Who knows? But I wouldn't feel like, like I think we're like made to feel squeamish about this sort of thing. And it's like, it's sad because it's like a cool part about life. It's like everybody remembers that time when they were like in high school or college, and I don't know. So yeah, so I think it is a great thing that she doubled down on the name.
This might be a bit. I might crowdsource my next interaction.
Yeah, you could put it online, and then eventually when she finds you, you could, show that you were crowdsourcing.
And this is like, I'm trying to
ask ChatGPT.
You can probably tell I'm like dancing a little bit around this, because I don't want this to sound like, oh, I'm like some narcissistic, arrogant asshole. But like, there's been so much I've seen, like these, like people, like stuff just randomly pop on my X sometime. It'll be a feed. It'll be like some men talking about how down bad they are because like online dating's horrible, and men will have to get 200 likes to get one response, and then 4 of those people, 1 in 4 will ghost from her. It's just like, I see this a lot, like that people aren't talking to the people of whether the same sex or the opposite sex, like in a like you and I think are naturally, like I don't even know if I'm extroverted. I just enjoy good conversation. I enjoy meeting people, and I'm not like really shy. But somehow, and maybe it's COVID, maybe it's the Zoomers, I feel like there's been a big societal shift, and you see like, percentage of 25-year-old men who have never dated anyone, like those numbers, and I don't have the stats, I don't know the data, but it just anecdotally is like allegedly like birth rates are going down and people aren't dating as much, or it's really hard, or you got to be 6 foot and make $100,000 a year and not be obese. By the way, maybe other than your height, all those things are not difficult. Like I almost quote tweeted this exact thing this morning, how it's like those 3 statistics, like be 6 feet tall, be in shape, don't be obese, and earn at least $100K a year, is you're in like the top 0.05% of the world. Only 1 in 200 American men, like, kind of was mind blowing to me. And I get the height thing. Like you can't change that.
I was going to say, I feel attacked by the height thing. I was 5'11" in high school, and I've shrunk to 5'10" by the time I'm 41.
So I'm like, then when they say over 6 foot, it's like, yes, I'm 6 foot and 1/16. But outside of that, like it's not difficult to be in shape. It's, I guess
it's difficult for some people to be in shape. There are genetic things. Like you'd be surprised, like my brother's genetics, as an example. My brother is in better shape than both of us combined. He can go out and run like a marathon faster than we can run and all this stuff, and he still isn't like
genetics play a role. I just think a lot of people don't attempt. Like they don't eat healthy. They have no fitness goals in their life. I just think a lot of it's the lack of effort, and it's not just like about what they look like. I think it's the bigger battle is just like the inability to strike up a conversation with someone else. And I don't know how I'm unpacking this live on the show today, but it's like there seems to, is it a generational gap? Has all of society shifted this way? Because like I was not in that world for a couple of decades, and then I was for a couple of years. And like when you and I were in college, like dating apps, that stuff didn't exist. I think it's easier now than ever before to meet new people, and it's not even remotely close. But yet statistics say the exact opposite. Why? What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know honestly, like so far out of my scope of like expertise, like it could be the deal. It could be the deal that online gives people unrealistic expectations. It could be that online dating
that's the theory. That's the leading theory, is that because of this, everyone, like every 6 now thinks they should be dating a 10.
Which isn't even like, it's not even like that, because I don't even look at it like that sort of like direct, as much as like people, again, there's unrealistic expectations, but also I think that likely leads to self-esteem with people who are perfectly fine, who are like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like, I think there's a lot of things that go into that. So I think that I don't think we know, like, I think there's very few people we would know who have enough expertise to give us like a true.
We got one that joined the stage. We got, I believe Joey has been a life and relationship coach advisor and life coach relationship advice guy in his past life. I kid, but Joey, GM, go ahead and get in here.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, so obviously I haven't dated in over 10 years as well. But my wife's sister was single for like the majority of our relationship, and only recently met somebody and got engaged. So I have like not firsthand, I guess you call it secondhand account of like how difficult it was for her to meet somebody. Because we were always talking about like, where do you meet, how does she meet people, where does she meet people, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, as somebody who was single when dating apps and things like that did come out before I met my wife, I can 100% say that there's definitely a disconnection between humans nowadays. Like the idea that you don't have to actually like talk to someone face to face to convince them to go on a date with you. The interpersonal social skills just aren't there. Not to mention that so many people are working remote, so they're not even interacting with like their coworkers either, right? It's all over Slack or Microsoft Teams or, video, where talking to somebody face to face is very different than on a video chat. The other, so I think the human connection, interpersonal skills are definitely something that has fallen by the wayside. I also think that this is a bigger issue in America than anywhere else, because a lot of people that I know from other countries, it's not the same for them. They met their significant other or their spouse, like, through friends, through family, in person, not through dating apps. So I think it's definitely, and I could be wrong, I'm not a research expert on this, but I think this is something that plagues America more than anything. And then the other issue is clearly filters. Like I have friends that post on their Instagram story and they don't even look like that in person. And there's definitely an issue with like sharing photos of yourself on a dating app or on social media, male or female.
Yeah, but I think
editing, right? And that's not even who you are. And then you meet them in person. You're like, who is this person?
So this is all somewhat true. And I'm going to put a bow on this one just because none of us are experts on this. You're talking to three 40-year-old guys, mostly who haven't dated, going online and making assumptions like right now. So let me put a bow on this.
But for the record though, at my gym, they're all my friends. They're all in their 20s, gay, straight, lesbian. They're all in their 20s. And these are conversations that like we're having all the time. So yes, it may not be my personal experience,
but Joey, I don't know how, like, I would say like people having surface level conversations at the gym versus like really close friends confiding in the situations and getting down to like the root cause. Like, I think we need to like be careful about like how we position the expertise here. Cause I think there's a lot of things that happen. It could be online culture. It could be the unrealistic expectations. It could be the filters. It could be the interpersonal stuff. I think like my like working theory, which I have no idea about that I will agree on, is I think there was a period of time where there was a generation that had less interpersonal skills because of online interactions. I think that changes with my kids because I can tell you like the current generation, I would say like 13 and down is what I can speak to. They talk to their friends all the time, 24/7, and have way better conversation skills than I've seen from a lot of other people because they literally are talking to their friends and working things out on their iPad. They basically go on their iPad or their phone. They go and have a FaceTime call. They play games together, and they're not just like playing games. They're talking about life. They're talking about the people at school. So I think it's actually changing.
Yeah, but that's very different than how we grew up. Actually, like having conversations face to face, like going and playing football at the park and there's a disagreement.
Sure, but they have those too. Like, I'm not saying
they have somebody on their iPad.
Sure, but they have those two. Well, I mean, one, like it's a different generation. It's how it's going. But like, I think that I'm agreeing with you to a degree that I think there was a gap where that wasn't normalized for kids. And so there was a gap where there was like incredible screen time and no ability to communicate with friends. Now I think what I'm saying is like that's changing comparatively to say there's probably a gap of that like Zoomer generation where they grew up in a different world, like just post-recession with their parents, weren't able to communicate, had lots of screen access because technology was there. It was like this weird little gap is my guess. Because like, I'm just saying like, I've seen what you're talking about as far as like certain people who are in like, say their 20s who have had like some interpersonal things. And I know it's not everybody, but I've seen that as from observations, have not seen that with my kids' generation where to a person, they all have regular conversations with people all over the place. And it's made their interpersonal skills and it translates to in person because I've seen it in person. In fact, there was a fight that happened we go to our friend's house one of the kids that is maybe 8 got in a fight with one of the kids that's 10. There's a whole breakup. My daughter and her other friend Tom broke the whole thing up. They all talked it out, and they were so emotionally intelligent, everybody about the situation, not just anybody, like literally like probably like 10 kids all were able to observe and talk about what it meant. And so I think we're entering a different era there. So, I mean, we shall see, but I do think, I think it's probably generational, but I don't think like we can pinpoint it. Like I'd rather do more research on it than like kind of postulate and guess. Plus we got Doodles coming on in a half hour. So I want to make sure we talk Coinbase and all that good stuff. But I think it's like hard to say, but I think the people you're talking to, Joey, to your point at the gym, my inclination, if I had to like take a wild theory, is that there's sometimes technology and things pace in different ways. And I'm not just trying to do this as a tech nerd, but I think technology paced in a way where I think 10 years ago, it was like everybody's on their screens and they're not talking to other kids. And now it's like they're on their screens and they are talking to other kids. And I think it's actually like one of those unexpected positives of technology where my kids would come home from school and it's like my kid has a bad day. They have to be alone with their thoughts. Maybe there's health to that or whatever. They talk to me, whatever. Now they can talk it out with other kids who they're talking to, because it's not like you have to pick up a house phone and hopefully get on the phone and whatever. It's like or you have to ride your bike somewhere, which is, it's healthy. It's fine. But then there's someone have to be available. Everybody pops on, they play games, they talk, they chat. So I think there's probably that gap between that group of people and this group of people. So I'd probably land the plane on that. But yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to see what it is. But yes, I think Cap, follow up with follow up with and move accordingly and have some fun with it, man. This is like, it's cool. It's, cool to be it's exciting to be back out there. But Cap, I want to talk a little bit of Coinbase. I want to talk, obviously we got
response. Good. Great response. I felt from Brian.
Yeah, and by the way, give us a like. I know we didn't hit the GMs in the X space this morning, but give us a like, a retweet, a comment on the room. It means a lot to us. We are out here doing our best to get people in. As we mentioned, we don't sell you stuff. We do give stuff away. Got another coffee with Captain Beezy. Shout out Joey Vowles coming on Tuesday. But we got the Doodles team coming on, so we want to make sure we have a nice full room for them to have that conversation. So like, retweet.
I completely forgot that, so thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, like, retweet, comment.
My brain's been elsewhere apparently this morning.
Yeah, we got to, Cap's brain is in the gutter, but GM to everybody out there, and everybody's saying good sign in the chat, which is nice, which I think it can't be, because I think the two ways it could have gone is you're super forgettable, or it was a, she wanted to, have that touch point and make sure she remembers. So that was good. So work on your leg skills, because you don't want to be the beta in the relationship if you start getting in there, and we'll go from there.
I was going to ask, could you date someone that's stronger than you?
Yes, easily. I don't have an ego like that. I am bizarrely low ego in that sort of stuff, where it's like, I remember working in
I same, but I also would probably double up my leg days.
Yeah, move. Like I would use it. I use things as motivation, but I don't have the ego on it, right? It's like people like at work, like will be like, I'm big give credit, take blame, right? Like when I was at work and I got feedback from bosses at times that I was too humble about accomplishments that my team did. And I was like, but I just directed it and they did the work. And they were like, yeah, that you're doing it again. Just like, be honest, like you accomplished something there. And so, if we go to the CEO, I want to give credit to my team, not myself, and, let them get that shine. And so anyway, sort of just the way I approach things. So like the ego thing is not like, if there was in fact, Dawn probably, because I haven't been as good a shape, there is a world where Dawn may be doing more pull-ups than me right now. I don't know. Like she's getting ready to do the Murph, which is a mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 air squats, then another mile run with a 20-pound vest. She's going sans vest, but she's getting ready to do that. Like that is my wife. So I am probably the weak one in the relationship here. So it's fine. I can live with that. Action. But Cap, Coinbase, let's talk, because I do like the response. I heard some people saying that they wanted them to offer some of that consumer protection, some of those fraud, protection for that 1% was affected. I was not affected because I did not get an email. So as far as I know, I am safe at the moment. But my initial response was, look, Coinbase had a data breach. It was a horrible data breach. A lot of funny takes in the timeline, actually, when Ponce was like, how did they get through to Coinbase support? I thought was like one of the funnier responses, because I know people struggle with that. Like they get their accounts closed all the time. But like when you come out and you're like, hey, like like this is what happened. We take responsibility. It's unacceptable. We're taking measures to fix it. We're sorry. We're not going to pay the ransom, but in fact, we're going to, ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. We're going to put that same ransom money on you and say, how can we find a bounty for you? Zach XBT about to be printing. And so, I thought that they handled that well. I thought the immediacy of the response, the tone of the message was good. And look, I know they could have offered more. It's funny, when I said A+ response, I was more thinking your question, which was the PR response, which was, hey, like, they hit all of the right notes. They had the right tone. They did a good job with it. They followed sort of like data breach 101 on that. So I thought they did really well, particularly knowing it was a leak that was, to people's personal information that way. It still makes me wonder about the using Coinbase as a platform, because this isn't a great thing, right? So I don't know.
The question, I get KYC. I get that they have to. I saw another post this morning. I apologize, I can't give credit. I don't remember who it was. I don't think I liked it or gave a retweet or anything, but it was something, I'll probably butcher it, but it was something to the idea of reversible transactions would solve all this faster than privacy. Everyone's so concerned about privacy and not anonymity, pseudo anonymity, whereas if we just had reversible transactions in crypto, it would eliminate this. It would eliminate the idea of a wrench attack. It's not going to happen if you can reverse the transactions, right? Like I know that's probably easier said than done, but it just got me thinking, like, are we going about this?
That's also a can of worms, right? Like, that is a.
Yeah, I know, and there was also I heard Funky on Modern Market said that, like, well, it's going to blow over. It's kind of a nothing burger. Like, data's been breached. Yes, I agree. Like, major corporations, like, our data's probably been breached at some point or another if you're connected at all. However, someone gets access to my Verizon account and sees who I call and text, or they find out where I live from my Verizon account. They have no idea what my assets are. If someone, I guess they could get back access to a bank, but most things that have
no one's showing up to your door with a shotgun because your health data was leaked, and they think they know that you have blood pressure that's slightly above normal, and being like, haha. But like, if they know that you collect crypto and it's like, once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly. And so that's where I do think it's a bigger deal than most data breaches, because of even if they can't see the Coinbase balances, it's just like, you can connect some dots, right? Like, you can, if you find out someone's name and now their home address, and you see them on X and their decentralized wallet you have access to, and you see that they've got $14 million of NFTs and $70 million of Bitcoin off, on chain, that's not at Coinbase. That's dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous. And I think that is I think that's the real issue here. And I think that's what, it's like, because I heard I love our guy Funky, but when he was like, hey, my health data has been leaked before. This has been leaked. Yes, but like, one of those is more dangerous than the other, particularly if they have your name and can find your address and all those things. So that part of it is what's concerning. I don't love reversible transactions. I just think the can of worms that opens is like, hey, we did a business deal. You sent me your punk. I sent you that. Suck it. Reverse transactions. Gotcha. Right. It's like, that part is a little bit worrisome for like OTC deals or other things like that. Or even like, hey, I'm going to be the broker on a major punk deal, and people are going to trade 5 punks, 4 Bored Apes, and I'm going to be in the middle of this, and I'm super trustworthy. Oh, you sent me the punks, reverse a transaction. Those are in my wallets in the middle. Oh, you sent me the money. Those are in my wallets in the middle. So like, the reversible transaction thing, I think, is a challenge, because it almost defeats some of what crypto is there for and how it works. And I get worried about that. I'd have to hear a compelling reason as to why. But Drew, I see your hand up. You got the thumbs up. Go ahead and get in here, GM.
Yeah, GM. I think something that's pretty interesting about this is, of course, when a security incident, everyone all of a sudden becomes a security expert. There's a lot of nothing burgers on the space. One thing, and I think this is where Coinbase PR messed up. Tavano kind of called this out, and I gave it a pretty good thought, which was interesting. It was 1% of monthly transacting users. So when they say MTU, it's monthly transacting users. So Coinbase has about 110 million users overall, right? They said 1% was affected, but they said 1% was affected of the MTU. If you go and look at the chart that Tivana pulled, DeFi Llama, anyone else, they have about 10 million monthly transaction users. Last month, it was about 970. So that means that there's about 97,000 people that are actually affected in this, which I'm not going to say that's nothing, right? It's obviously very bad. This is a pretty bad one when you have the last four of of your social security number and an address in particularly. It's actually like really, really, really bad. But 97,000 for a data breach actually isn't dog shit. So it's really not as many as a lot of people think, because they're just looking at total users, which was 110 million, which makes it a ton more. But yeah, this is where it's pretty important to segregate data, be aware of what you're actually interacting with. And, you know, this, if I was a scammer hacker outside of the normal fake Coinbase calls, texts, emails that we're getting, this was the missing information that I could just get from all of the other data breaches from X, OpenSea, everything else that's happened in the last 3 years. And yeah, I mean, I pretty much have a full profile on you.
Yeah, it's not great. It's definitely like, you know, like, and I think that's like a good balanced take where it's like, data breach wise, it is not like, you know, a crazy one, right? Like, as far as like, it's like there have been far worse data breaches than this, but, you know, as far as like the, you know, as far as
bad,
but the actual like contents of it were pretty bad, and it helps people kind of get, yeah. So I think there's, you know, yeah, that's actually, I saw that eBrink was saying this, like, you know,
I'm pretty sure this happened. Like, I don't think this just occurred yesterday. Like, I think that Coinbase has been aware of this for a while. The timing is interesting. Like, a couple people mentioned, like, the amount of spam texts claiming their Coinbase in the last couple of weeks has increased. I've gotten a few in the last few weeks as well. So maybe it's unconnected, but I don't think that they just got the ransom demand yesterday. So
I think I've seen some rumors, and obviously none of this is like confirmed or anything, but it's been a pretty strong consensus from like some people that are pretty deep into this, that it's been going on since January, which for me kind of lines up with the amount of spam text calls, reports, emails that everyone kind of has been getting with some pretty detailed information. And it also, if I'm going to put on, you know, my thinking hat, it lines up pretty well where, okay, Coinbase gets accepted into the S&P. If I'm a scammer and I'm trying to ransom or, you know, bribe Coinbase saying, hey, you just got in the S&P, if you don't want me to leak this, pay the 20 million over. Like, yeah, all of that lines up pretty well.
I've gotten like, now that you mention it, Cap, in the last like 2 weeks, I think I've gotten at least 4 Coinbase text messages in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I get them constantly, and it's those fake ones. And I've told people, in fact, it's like, and you got to stay vigilant. Like, I was having a conversation with my mom the other day where, like, you know, she got a document from the IRS that was like, hey, you need to pay this. Like, you know, even though she does her taxes with an accountant, I was like, let's make sure. And I looked into it and it was legitimate, but like, you have to be extra vigilant on this stuff. And it's crazy. It's like, it's also one of the reasons I've had like 6 solicitors come to my door in the past, like, I don't know, like couple of weeks. And they are like legit solicitors, because I see them going door to door in all the doors or whatever. And they have like, some of them have like the badge that's proper or whatever, but you're not supposed to solicit our neighborhood. The police will like stop them from doing it. Like, one lady who was with the younger kid showed up like 3 times. And I'm like, I told my kids, I'm like, we don't answer the door. If someone wants to get in touch with us, they can find a way to get in touch with us, but there is no reason for me to open that door for anybody I don't know is coming. It's very different than when I was growing up. And it was like, oh, you answer the door. It's like, no, it's like, I'm not opening my door for anybody unless they are the UPS guy and I need to sign for a package that I didn't pre-sign for. Simple as that. So I think, but yeah, it's definitely a interesting times and kind of a scary thing. But gonna do this. Like, you know, we had a data breach or a data leak. We're gonna do a quick More You Know by ENS. Give us a like or retweet, a comment to the room. Again, we got Doodles coming in, slower Friday. Want to make sure they are able to get a good day going here.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
Time for the More You Know, brought to you by ENS. And let's talk about the worst data leaks in recent memory in crypto, because in this space, OPSEC isn't a luxury, it is a necessity. In 2022, let's remember, I don't know if you remember that Ledger had a devastating breach when its e-commerce partner leaked personal data, names, phone numbers, home addresses of over 2,100 hardware wallet users, actually over 250,000 hardware users and buyers. This led to phishing, SIM swaps, and even physical threats at people's front doors. Then there was CoinTracker in 2023, right before tax season. A breach through its email vendor exposed a user emails and potentially linked wallet addresses, just as users were reconciling their full transaction history. Even Celsius, before collapsing, leaked email addresses and transaction data of its users, making a bad situation worse during one of crypto's ugliest bankruptcy. So in crypto, privacy isn't just about avoiding spam, it's protecting assets and your physical safety. If your wallet is tied to your real-world identity, you're a target. Stay paranoid, use burner emails, and never assume a centralized service is fully secure. Just be careful out there, y'all. I try to be extra vigilant. And that was The More You Know, brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than you know, not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, and unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to secure your ENS domain today. So be careful out there, Cap.
Be safe. Good update, Steve. I know we have guests coming up soon. Actually, a few other notable, at least flyover newsworthy items this morning. If we want to do kind of some rapid fire here, I don't know if there's much to comment on. Drifter got arrested. I just want to make sure you saw that. Drifter Shoots got arrested at a show in New York, a solo show in New York yesterday. Video is pinned up top. If anyone wants to take a look at that, I don't know anymore, but I at least wanted to hit on it. And another big Kaido airdrop. They partnered with Infinex, $6 million over their first season. And I pinned up a post from T-Baller up top, says, it's crazy that we're almost 6 months with Kaido. And if your protocol isn't utilizing it in any way or in any sort of way, then you're simply not talked about whatsoever. I'm not sure it's a good thing or not as many just farm content in general, but any publicity is good publicity. If your protocol doesn't utilize Kaido, you're more likely behind and completely forgotten. I don't wholly agree with that. I mean, we're talking Doodles here this morning, and they haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't partnered up with Kaido yet. But any quick thoughts on another massive win for the Yappers and Kaido, really picking up steam. Thoughts?
I think, one, thoughts. I'm now confused after hearing many people trying to figure out whether it's Kato or Kaido. I've been saying Kaido, but now I'm hearing Kato. So that's just a side note. So if anybody wants to correct me in the chat, I've been saying Kaido, but apparently I hear a lot of people saying Kato. Look, I mean, I think it's a interesting. I have like mixed thoughts on Kaido. Like I said, I'm probably going to start participating in some of these pre-TGE airdrops and just kind of like exploring some ecosystems. I think it makes sense. It's a powerful marketing tool that has the attention of CT. And I think there are high quality content creators who are diving in. I think the impetus to do well is getting higher. But that said, like, I do think the one part I still don't love is that, and by the way, I should be taking advantage of this, like, because I could be lazy about it. I do think it does still reward some of the highest accounts to just kind of casually mention it in a semi-genuine way or disingenuous way, or maybe even genuine, but kind of lazy. Like, I think people who have built accounts can just talk about an airdrop and then put the thing in it. Like, and I'll use an example, and it's my buddy, but it's like Whale Swoosh. That dude can just like put a $sign whatever, and he's earned that. He's built that up through his platform and what he's done. But like, he's going to get giant Kaido airdrops talking, and he does more research on a lot of stuff, but I've seen ones where he kind of casually talks about something. It cooks like 50,000 impressions. I see someone else talk about it and it has like 700 impressions, and he's going to eat a bigger airdrop than that person in the community. So I do think that there is, I also don't know.
Which is, I mean, fair, right? Like, whether it's Infinex or any of these people that are partnering with Kaido, they don't want to be paying $50,000 to someone who sent out 7 tweets and got 700 views in total, right? I mean,
right. But like,
part of what they're paying, it is paid per performance. I hear you, and I do agree that those individuals that have grown their account, have a larger following, don't really have to do much work. They can literally, it's not spam, but they can just mention it in passing, and they're going to get far more reward than someone who put 5 hours into dropping a thread or an article that was an incredible write-up that just didn't get the eyeballs. So it's like, I think there's some tweaking that could be needed, like to reward quality and impressions, not just views and impressions, because we know that views and impressions don't always convert. And I think rarely on X do they convert. And I think that's probably one of the most overvalued things in this space. If I were to just comment on that, is I think many agencies or marketers just really overview views and impressions. And I don't know the answer. I don't know what better metrics they should be looking at, but I don't know as if that's always the right answer.
No, it feels to me, kind of having worked in marketing, and like it's funny because like I have conversations with like large companies in this space, and I'm always kind of floored that a lot of them, some of them have traditional marketers and others don't. And like the lack of people who say, I talked about this product, so how many people actually went and used it on that day versus this day, or A/B test a different sort of like organic piece of content or whatever it may be, is always interesting to me, because you have the ability to say you're Magic Eden and you talk about, you know, a product that launched or whatever, and then you see how many people went, you know, a week later when you talked about it, and if there was a spike in people up in that, and then like what the difference was. Or you work with a creator after a month and you see like I'll give you an example, like, and I'm sure they're doing this because Gemini is a legit company. Get Rich Nick put out a video for Gemini. It got a lot of impressions. They're going to know how many people, you know, signed up and got that card as part of that promotion. Now, part of it turns into noise when you're marketing if you have an overall campaign and you're measuring the campaign versus the individual elements of the campaign. And when paid dollars come into play, you want to be more exact. But I think there are ways to measure actual product pull through. And like, I think also we're in a space where quality matters. It's a small space. Like if you send 25 people to use an app, but those people are power users of the app and they send friends to use the app and they use the app and they do it more, that's more valuable in crypto right now than this mass one where quality of users matter. And I think like it's sort of the same idea of like if you do paid advertising on YouTube, a lot of times you get the views, you might even get some comments. You're not going to get a lot of subscribes. You're not going to get a lot of people who are actually continuously coming back for your content. So I think how you approach things matters. And I think there's always a thoughtful long-term strategy of like, how do you get people to actually want to not only use your product, but think about your brand in a positive way. And there's a million ways to sort of remember that or measure that and use it. But it's like, you know, I mean, I'm just throwing out examples. If you're a chain like Abstract, putting streamers out there makes a lot of sense because you have multiple people using your brand. They're talking about it. They're doing it to their friends, like all those good things. And by spreading your wings with big and small creators the way they have, they've got Dilo approving a ton of people each week. You're spreading your wings in a way.
I didn't know Dilo is officially on the team now. Congrats.
I don't know if she just has the badge and is consulting with them, or if she's, you know, officially on the team or what. But like,
so she originally joined the team as part of like they had like a ladies. I remember if it was called like the Ladies of Abstract or like the Ladies of ABS. It was like her and Marianne and somebody else in the beginning, I feel, and they were like basically onboarding women to Abstract, and then eventually Dyla ended up getting the Abstract badge, and I think she's actually like a community manager now, or not community manager, like, you know, like a people, like on the people team now officially.
Abstract Angels.
There you go. That's what it was. Abstract Angels. That's what it was originally. And that like, and it was like a group of the women in the space. And now she's actually on the Abstract team. I think it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like a community lead or a community advisor or something like that. Or.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it's like, it's something to that effect. So I don't know exactly what the role or whatever it is, but like Abstract, no surprise. Luca understands marketing. Look how they've done it. They were onboarding sort of, you know, females in the space, which is a very delicate thing to do in a space that gets mad if you use the terms male or female, because they'll be like, oh, crypto doesn't have this problem, or doesn't. It's like, so they wanted to have a more diverse community. They wouldn't call it that. They wouldn't say that, but they did, and they were able to do that. They empowered a lot of streamers day one. They also, you know, again, they try to have a variety of people. Like they work with like a lot of these chains and other like protocols and other like dApps. They'll find one or two people and then they like go all in versus saying, how can I spread? Like if I were doing marketing for one of these brands, I would look across. We have an audience. Modern Market has an audience. The Nifty people have an audience. Farouk has an audience. Like those are sort of the bigger ones. Then you can go like look at some of the other, like Profits Over Wages has an audience. Like you look at all these different people and you figure out how you work in a way with people. Like when we would do marketing campaigns, like we worked with, macro, micro, and everything in between on the influencer side and there's a sheet you can get with what they're worth and people who do the whole thing and broker the deals. The idea is like, you don't just want to go all in on one place and then say, how did that work? You want to like spread it across because the lift you get. And then once you start getting users, if you can hone in on who's talking about you on the timeline, and this is something where an InfoFi like a Kaido actually comes into play to bring it back to what you said. Like, let's say that you're Abstract and you platform all these streamers. And then suddenly you realize, hey, a bunch of people in the Coffee with Captain audience are talking about Abstract. We should double down on this because it seems like they react. Like I got Diego in my replies today talking about Gigaverse and Abstract app. It's like you could start to measure those things, right? And so like figuring out like where you're seeing the most response dialed in, where you're seeing the most replies, and working across a variety of people. I mean, I think one of the most missed things in this space is people who do not work across a variety of creators. They almost value creators based on how many exact impressions you get on a regular basis versus saying, what is your audience? What are your platforms and how do you use it? And I think that there is a way to say, you work with a variety of people and see what that looks like. So I think to your point about impressions, it can be different. It can be measured different. But I think where Kaido comes into play to put the train back on the tracks is that if you can use that InfoFi, the best way to sort the signal from the noise is by looking at that and saying, okay, we have a lot of noise here of a lot of things going on from this one tweet. Like who's now talking about our brand a week later, a month later? And that's where I think something like Kaido comes into play.
Well, and real quick, we'll get back to Joey here in a second. And then there's one other topic I want to get to before our guest. But I think part of the evolution we're seeing is it's not just an airdrop, right? It's not just, oh, you are a great yapper. You've been talking about this. Here's some free money. It's they're combining that with some like with this Infinex thing. It's a season. It's called Yap Run, and this is season 1, right? So it's like they're driving daily active users, and you have to basically it's like Kaido's helping, and it is a partnership with Kaido. I don't know the exact terms of the deals, but this $6 million in rewards, it's for the season. I don't know exactly. I don't know if they've said how long the season lasts, but it's multi-season. The $6 million is rewards over multi-season, not just season 1. And on their site, they show 3 seasons right now. So I think that's important, right? Like to your they don't just want to be handing out free money to a KOL or influencer who happened to mention them in one tweet that got a bunch of impressions, but didn't really drive anyone to their site, didn't convert anyone. I think this way of driving daily users and rewarding them, and if they happen to have, yaps or, basically combining their yaps with the daily activity they want them to do on their site, I think there might be something there. I'm going to participate. I'm looking forward to following along. Also, real quick shout out to Infinex. Maybe there's others. It's the first one I can remember that I can log back into my account with my biometrics. Like I use my MacBook, my fingerprint is my login for most things on my Mac. And it's the first Web3 site I can remember that I can just there's no password, nothing. I just log in with my finger.
Yeah, I think it's cool. But yeah, to your point of it, like I think what's underestimated is I think people in this space sometimes try to use a term we talked about this morning offline, try to big brother people, right? Where they're like, oh, you're not doing it or you do. It's like, look at the conversations that are happening and see how meaningful they are, right? So it's like, are the people like, if one big influencer talks about it, that's a great win. You want that, especially if it's organic. But like, if somebody who's mid-tier, if somebody with, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 followers talks about something and they get a lower impression, but the replies and the discussion in there is relevant to your app, make those people feel really good. Like people don't understand that. Like, do you know how exhausting it is when somebody is a quote unquote smaller account and they only see the big accounts engaging with the bigger accounts versus you see a cool tweet and it's like, imagine if like if Bored Ape Yacht Club does this well. Someone with 200 followers joins Bored Ape Yacht Club. They retweet it and they comment on it. That person feels awesome. You know, Good Vibes Club does a great job. They rate everybody who does pretty well. Like those things matter, and I think like that's something that gets so sorely missed by large accounts is in the marketing spot is like how do you spread across multiple marketing dynamics and multiple marketing groups? It's something that we did again at every company I worked at. We didn't just go for the biggest fish. We weren't just trying to get The Rock to talk about our stuff. We talked to a bunch of different groups in every campaign.
I also I feel it's starting to bubble up on the timeline as far as like it's starting to. I feel it's creating a divide. There's people who are leaning into it and getting their bags. There's other people who are not a fan at all and are complaining about it often. Here's one from Enzo Blue. You know, the choice is simple: keep your reputation intact and dream of 2021 crypto Twitter nostalgia, or capitulate to Kaido Infofy and go with the meta of tweeting about every project under the sun. People literally got 5K airdrop just for a few tweets about Infinex, and people are airdropped 7K just for using Ethos. I think it's time, lads. The smart people will find a way to create content without making it blatantly obvious that they are just farming. That last part I agree with. Like, you don't have to sell your soul. You don't have to talk about every single project on the Kaido leaderboard. Find some that interest you. There's 4, 8, 12, 16. There's 18 different protocols from Infinex to virtuals to Somnia and a lot of different things in between. That find one or two that you're interested in. Do a deep dive. Talk about that. Maybe you get paid. I think there's.
It's a weird
I think
thing.
it's net positive. I'll say that. I do not think it's hurting the space. I get how people might be frustrated if how it's changed their timeline, but I do think it's a positive evolution from. I hate to keep using the portal example, but from the days of hashtag portal or $ portal.
I think that people just like this like take is like so are you mad that Shaq does a Kia commercial because he doesn't drive a Kia? Like, come on. Like, do you think the Shaq is the general for his insurance? Like, I get it, I understand, but like the fact that paid marketing is being somewhat democratized, I've come around on this. Remember, I was like a little bit of a hater, and then I was like, okay, it's just a marketing tool, and now I'm looking at it. And by the way, this isn't like some bag bias, like I've gotten paid out anything. I haven't. But I've just like, you know, it's like I haven't done anything differently. I've just come around to it by talking and listening to people and changed my mind on it. Like, I think that there is something there. So now do I think it's valuable for everybody? Probably not for everybody. Probably not. But I do think that there is value there. Joey, saw your hand fly up a little earlier. Go ahead and get in here.
Real quick, I think there's definitely a place for Kaido. I think it's a really great marketing tool. I do think that there's, like you mentioned, like how Kat mentioned how like Doodles didn't use them. I do think that there's probably some projects and things out there that don't need Kaido, right? Like I don't envision Yuga ever going to Kaido and saying like, we want to reward people for talking about Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Like, but with that being said, I think it could be very strategic, right? Even if you're an existing project or a new project, if you have the capital, and we talked about this the other day about how what we used to do in this space by just paying like some KOLs to pin a tweet or something. I think if you have the capital, there are way worse ways to spend your money right now, marketing in Web3 than working with Kaido. So just be strategic about it. If you're, but from what I've heard, it's not cheap. So I don't know how many people can actually use it. But I think it's a great tool, and I think it's going to be here for a while. And to Cap's point, when he was talking about, I can't believe there hasn't been a Pump.Fun knockoff for so long, or a copycat. I'm surprised we haven't seen somebody spin up a Kaido copycat yet.
Well, I mean,
we do. Oh, the Quack one, right?
It's different, but yeah, they're not. They're calling themselves something different, but for all intents and purposes, very similar platform. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I guess there is one then, but nobody that's been able to take the mind share like Kaido.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's it's just it's something where I think like you need to think about like I just think like the part that like is crazy to me is like, and again, I'm not like trying to be like the preachy guy, but this is my area of expertise where I can speak comfortably. It's like people just don't have a holistic view of marketing in this space. Like, and it's shocking to me the amount of companies that don't engage with marketers or communicators who know what they're doing in this sort of stuff. And it's surprising, right? It's like there are ways, like Kaido is a piece of the puzzle. It is not the whole puzzle. It is to Joey's point, it is a great tool when used correctly. And by the way, we'll talk to Doodles about this today. I don't think that Doodles should have used it pre-TGE. I thought pre-TGE, like getting a bunch of people to talk about the dude token who are just going to dump it was not the move. But I do think Doodles should consider using it for DreamNet because they have a real product they want people using. It's going to require high effort. And I think that is the way to do it.
And it needs explained. People don't get it. No, like I still have yet to hear it really concisely, explained. And it's kind of like a virtuals competitor is the best I can get now and decide to dive deeper. But I think you're exactly right. Like that is a great example of, I think, something that would benefit probably significantly from getting the team of, the community of yappers doing deep dives and talking about this on the timeline more. Yeah. I know we've got another Jonah just jumped on stage. We've got a guest coming up here soon. I'm not sure if he jumped up because of what I pinned up top, but the other news.
Who's the guest today?
Doodles. The other news, you can feel free to get in on this. I'm curious your take, Jonah, because the other news item I wanted to hit on, at least fly over, Steve, is it just, I guess, broke 4 hours ago. This is the official Fortnite account. It says Apple has blocked our Fortnite submission, so we cannot release the game to US App Store or to the Epic Game Store for iOS and the European Union. Now, sadly, Fortnite on iOS will be offline worldwide until Apple unblocks it. I'm confused because I thought Apple just came out and undid this and was bringing Fortnite back. What's going on? What am I missing, Jonah?
Apple just playing games until they have to do it. They're just being petty.
They're stomping their feet.
Petty. I know that they're going to make an appeal, so maybe they feel that an appeal means that they have the legal right to continue blocking it. That's one thing, because they are taking it to an appeals court. That doesn't mean that they're going to win, because, it feels pretty decisive. So one thing could be legal. That would be the worst case, but I feel like that's not what it is. The other case could be that because they're being, they're really petty, right? So one thing they could be doing is, oh, you have this one issue in the game, and then they fix it, and they go, oh, I found this other issue in the game, and they'll just find never-ending issues with the game until they're forced to put it on the App Store. So they're just causing trouble just for the sake of causing trouble. That could be the other reason.
Companies love doing this. Large companies love doing. That's why I always say, don't get in a fist fight with a large company because they have the money to throw, and the in-house counsel, if not the money, to throw lawyers at things that will make your life miserable. So knowing how things work in there versus knowing some of the flip sides of that, which is how, there's a flip side of that where it's knowing where, there's a company I know that if you talk to them and mention certain things, they knew they would have to kick it over and call a lawyer, which immediately cost them I think it was $8,000. So you could negotiate up to $7,000 or something. You can learn these little hacks, but with Apple, they do not fuck around. They love that sort of stuff, and they are very protective. Apple, Disney, there are certain brands you just don't want to get into a fight.
The worst I've ever personally dealt with Apple, and it's not even close. It's their world, and we're just playing in it.
Yeah. I see Pocky join the stage. I know, Pocky, we're probably going to have sort of the product team join as well. Some other folks come on, and you guys are welcome to join the stream, by the way. I have the StreamYard link in the invite if you want to pop on and show that glorious mustache off, or if you have not gotten the chance to sort of shower and make yourself camera ready, that's perfectly understandable. But how are you doing this morning, Pocky?
Bro, I'm doing good. The mustache has yet to be wrangled this AM, so I'll keep that guy. I'll shield everyone's eyes from it to start the day. But dude, I'm doing great, man. I'm stoked to hop up here. We're talking some Fortnite. We're gonna get into Dude here in a second. It's going great, man. How's your day, man?
It's going well. It's going well. I've been I am a my day basically starts at 6 a.m. Cap starts a little before that. Cap's day's going well. He's pumping up the boys. He had a gym crush that he went up and talked to today and had a little intro point. And check this out, Pocky. He introduced himself because he went on the leg press last week after her. Didn't want to take any weight off and couldn't walk for a week because this chick's got apparently tree trunks for legs. And he went up to her today, told the story to give himself the opening for the intro. She flagged him down as they were leaving the gym and was like, hey, sorry, I forgot your name. Could you remind me? That's a good little touch point. So do you think...
Yo, we love to see it, dude. Let's go. Cap out here making some moves. Honestly, that's amazing, bro. I love it.
Yeah, that's a good thing, right? We were telling him, he's like, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing she forgot my name? I think she was looking for another touch point, so it's a good thing, right?
Dude, gotta be a good thing. If they're following back up on the way out of the gym, like, yo, flagging you down, I see you, Captain. Someone cooked here.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, Cap is cooking. His day is going well. He's grinning ear to ear. He's getting those butterflies going, which we love to see. Also saw Greeny joined us. Look, I mean, Columbus, Ohio boys is you can't beat them. So how you doing this morning, Greeny GM?
Dude, do you ever have anybody else that comes up here early in the morning with the vibes that Bucky does? It's literally crazy. How does this guy have this kind of energy in the morning? I don't get it.
Yeah, Pocky is all-time vibe guy. Like, I remember when y'all hired him, and I was like, that is about the perfect fit that you could ever get, not just for Doodles, but for any community. I think actually when I was doing consulting with Doodles, I think I actually specifically said at one point, I'm like, you guys are gonna hire Pocky at some point, right? Like, I had a conversation because it was like just meeting with that guy. It's like and if people think that he's putting on a show, I have had private Zoom calls and the energy is exactly the same. So the man just is electric and jumps off the page. But I know we might get Squinch joining here in a little bit, but I'd love to start talking a little bit of sort of DreamNet, Dude Token, future of everything that you guys are working on. But I know the prior to the night before, I know I sent you a DM. I was like, hey, good luck tomorrow. I know that this is a crazy situation. I actually want to start off a little bit of Dude Token. And before we get deep into it, how is the team feeling about the launch? I think launches are exhausting. Discords turn into pre-mint Discords or post-mint Discords where everybody's just going nuts. They can't claim, they can't do this. It's probably a just absolute whirlwind. Community is good. I know you put out a nice note in the Discord. How are you feeling, Greeny, after the launch? Good, bad, in the middle? Like, what would you give yourself out of 10 on it, actually?
Dude, we talked to some other teams like the Azuki team, the Pudgy team, a couple other teams who have put out tokens, and everyone after their launch said the same thing. And I didn't believe it or understand it until we got to there. And honestly, the feeling is just completely relief. It's just like in the lead up, there's so much stress and so much pressure and everything's changing and you're watching macro conditions and the tech changes last minute because such and such partner wants to help out now. And now there's, the marketing plan changes based on everything going on. It's just like, it's this like just nonstop, just sort of like full energy suck. And, it's worth it. And we had fun and we enjoyed all that stuff, especially the sort of tail end of the lead up there with the marketing and us like all just kind of getting to go to Burnt Toast place in Toronto and just like vibe and just have a ton of fun. But the overwhelming feeling, I would say, is just relief. It's just like it's out there and now we can support it. Our community can support it. People are happy. We're on the other side of it. And as far as Discord, dude, like what you're saying is definitely true, but
shout out
honestly,
to the mods, bro.
Yeah, dude, serious shout out to our mods for holding it down and just being there and like taking a beating from people because that's how it goes, unfortunately. And it's one of the bad things about that job, but they fucking rule. But the post mint Discord is far superior to the pre-mint Discord where everybody is when token, and it's just like I am so fucking ecstatic to never have to hear that phrase ever again, to be honest.
Well, like I think it's a good way of putting it. Shout out Hank specifically. I have always gotten amazing interactions with Hank the cat, patient, helpful, gets it done. Love Hank. And I think that I mean, look, I was a community lead for Starbucks Odyssey and like, it's awesome when things are going well, but when things don't go well, that's when you really, it's like, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? That's when you really make your hay as somebody who is in that role. So totally makes sense. And now that you're past it too, it's also like, I found, at least in my situation, that when you're doing a mint or something happens, there's a whole lot of people who show up Discord who have never said a word before, who are just there to be pissed off, and then they leave again afterwards. So you get through that, over that hump. I do want to get, and I know Squinch is joining us as well. I do want to ask a couple questions though about, how it went down. So number one, I want to start with like something that was like super positive about the drop. I really like the idea of the airdrop over the claim. Now, I know some people said like, oh, well, like there's this tax thing, or you could, like the airdrop, like if they weren't going as quickly or whatever. To me, that made a bunch of sense because you didn't overload the site for claim. So people were able to claim. I was able to get it in my wallet without having to do anything on my pre-register. I knew exactly how much dude I was getting, so I could have fun with the pre-modeling and all that good stuff. Can you talk to me about like the discussions around airdrop versus not airdrop? Was that always a consideration? Was that an ad at the end? Because I really liked it. I know there was like some people who weren't, but I think the overall feeling was like, hey, this is nice. I can just sit back and relax and pre-register. Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, we made that decision when we saw Pudgy's claim site have issues, and I mean, granted, like there was a lot of stuff that they executed very, very well at that TGE, but like it's an inevitability. Every claim site I've ever seen breaks at some point, and it was like the frustration was generally like, and we talked to some people in the community after a couple of TGEs of like Pudgy and Azuki and things like that, who were part of those communities as well. And their biggest frustration was never the delay. It was always like, I'm frustrated that this thing broke for me, and other people who aren't part of the community got to claim their token first. If everything was delayed or if everything was broken, it wouldn't have been as frustrating, but it was just like people that aren't part of the community got to claim and we didn't. And so we made a decision like really early on that's like, we're going to do an airdrop and we're just going to airdrop to our community so they don't have to deal with it. Like our community shouldn't ever even need to come to the claim site in an ideal world. And so we did everything we could to make that happen. That was just like, come early, give us your wallet address. We'll make it easy for you and we'll just send it straight to you so you don't have to deal with that. You'll be the first ones to get it. You won't have to compete for a broken site with other people. It's just like, that was where it came from. Was just like it was just we wanted to make sure that our community got to eat first.
Was there a lot of claimers? And you don't have to share specific numbers if they don't, like if it's not something you want to share proprietary wise or anything like that. But was there a lot of people? Because I'm again, myself, I'm a nerd. So like Dawn, my wife, she did not do the claim because we wanted to see how both things work, just because I'm a loser like that and love to like see how like all the tech different works on different ends. But both worked. I thought the airdrop was the move. Do you have an idea of how many people, and you can add one to that because we would have pre-registered if I didn't want to play with the tech, how many people registered for it, or any information about, was it like a well-received thing within the community?
It was, yeah. I Squinch, can't tell if he's up here, showing his listener for me. I believe we had I think we had 15,000 wallets pre-register. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Cool. That's it. No, that's really cool. I love hearing that part. Thing number two, and then we'll talk about some things where like we're curious, where we saw some different feedback on the drop. But thing number two that I thought you did really well, I'd love you to talk us through, is the actual airdrop strategy. So I know you guys were laughing at me, Greeny specifically. I know we had some DMs where you're laughing at me like, man, I wish I could tell you some stuff I can't tell you, because I was sitting there modeling things out, and you're like kind of laughing. Squinch at one point commented where he's getting closer. Talk about like the way that you weighted all of the different factors and how you do that, because you have such a rich ecosystem of all these different pieces you're putting together. I actually just specifically to call out the idea of putting Grail wearables above sort of, exclusive above basic wearables. The idea that Space Miles did effectively more than double your airdrop if you had been in since the beginning, which was a reward of faith. But at the same time, an OG Doodle did hold a lot of weight. How did you think about weighting these mechanics? Like, what were those? Were there a lot of discussions? Was it easy? Was it left to one person? Like, how did you guys figure out the dynamics? Because I will say, just like from a actual weighting of your NFTs, I think you did it as well as anybody I've seen execute one of these.
I'll let Greeny speak to that mostly because he was like, for some reason, Greeny's become like math guy at Doodles, which is just weird because I never think of him as that, but he's a spreadsheet wizard. But like one of the main things that we did in modeling, it's really similar to what we do when we're designing products in general, is like we put ourselves in our own shoes as a holder, as a community member. We put ourselves into the shoes of like, what would this be like for me if this is what I had? And then we modeled, what that drop would look like at different market caps for us based off of those holdings, and if we would be happy with it or not, and if we would feel like that was fair. And so like we just like started kind of from that, like with what I hold, if I got this drop, would that feel good? Would that feel worth it? And then we kind of push the numbers around a little bit and then be like, all right, now I hold this instead. And I come into it, okay, that's a little unbalanced now because this person doesn't feel as good. And like, it took a lot of kind of like morphing up and down, but Greeny, I'd love for you to speak to that.
Dude, honestly, I wish I could say that there was some sort of real complex mathematical process that we went through, but it was pretty much that. It was just full on Rick Rubin vibe coding, just like closing our eyes, being like, "Does this feel right? Is this the right number?" And we just we pushed it around over the course of a few days when we originally modeled it, and got to a point where we felt like, I mean, we knew number one that we wanted Space Doodles to be like properly taken care of, because that was the goal since day one, since the like Space Race season 1 launched. But we also knew that like not everyone is going to have been in space, so it's like you can't fully base the airdrop on that. We got to strike the balance where someone who just picked up an OG Doodle the day before TGE still feels like it was worth it, whereas that person that's been in space feels like they stand out from that person, that they are recognized and taken care of because they've been there since day one, because they've had their doodle in space. And for the most part, like I was just really thrilled to see, I would say 99% really ecstatic reception from the community over those tokenomics, and that people were super happy with them. It was just like a really proud moment for all of us, and it was when the Rick Rubin vibe coding worked out.
Love that. Love to hear that. Pretty solid. Yeah. Reaction. I mean, like, I think, if A-Town's an indicator, you guys hit it pretty well. He was very happy with his miles and what that leaned into. But okay, so a couple of things I want to talk about individually. And some of this, again, as always, I say, like, if there are things for legal or whatever reasons you can't talk about regulatory, a lot of people were surprised and felt that the market cap was going to open up higher. Now, you have no control over that. It opened up at about 100 mil. It basically danced a stable coin between 75 and 85 for a while. Now, all airdrops go down no matter what. Like, that's just the nature of it. People are selling and taking liquidity. I'm curious if in your models, or if this is something you're even able to talk about, where you might have modeled out a market cap drop, which is, because it's very hard to know exactly where these things are going to model out. If that's something either A, you can talk about, or B, if you had even pre-thoughts about it as you kind of put that together.
I mean, yeah, honestly, our goal, and I would say like a lot of the stuff in the airdrop and the claim, as we know, didn't work out the way that we wanted from a timing perspective, which is really, really important to the way that that sell pressure and buy pressure kind of interact in those first moments of a TGE. But our intention really was to start at a place that felt fair, and that felt like it had a lot of room for growth. One of the things we've been seeing is like these wild FDV starting points, and then these massive kind of like down onlys for a while after that. And I think that giving ourselves a place, like a starting place where we had an opportunity for real upward price discovery, was absolutely the goal. I think in some of the like the outcomes that happened after that, particularly in the timing of the airdrop and some of the issues that we encountered, what ends up happening is, those drops, that kind of like free internet money moment, happened kind of like at a bad point in that price discovery, which gave us like a little bit more downward pressure than we would expect after that. So where we ended up, that in that stablecoin kind of a moment, and where we're at now, like it's honestly like it's not like I look at that market cap and I'm like, yeah, that's what we deserve, that's fair. But that's what the market says that it should be right now. And I think that one of the good things about starting where we did is that I know where we should be and I know where we will be, and that upward potential is really dramatic from there. And so like it was the only thing that I'll like really say for certain is that it was purposeful for us to not start at 500, a bill, something like that, and to really look at the state of the market, the state of projects like us, other projects in the space who have more reach, et cetera, and where they kind of ended up, and start someplace fair where we could really see some growth and some movement for our holders that want to hold on to that token and grow with us over time, rather than, you know, that price discovery being pretty much guaranteed to find its way down in the long term. In the short term, like you said, that's expected. In the long term, having a place where we can really find that stable position and move into the future in a good way that creates like a really good upward momentum for everybody was, you know, part of the intention there.
It's really interesting, and I would agree. I thought the tokenomics in terms of allocation and how that was distributed was home run, really well done. I've been critical or questioning why, because some of the other stuff, like I pinned up top the Mellow vinyl that's live now, the hoodie in partnership with Solana Spaces, the post on Lord of the Files. I've been at a few of those and looking forward to playing that game. And the one thing I've said many times, certainly not a low effort activation. Looks like a lot of thought effort went into it. So as I hear you share that, my first thought is like, were some of those announcements slow played intentionally so as to not overhype the launch, so as to not, like, because I agree, it is a lot easier to go from, let's say, 50 million to a billion or 500 million than it is to go from 500 million down to 50 million and then try to run it back up again. Was the timing of some of the announcements slow played or not spoken of until after launch, just as an air of caution?
I mean, just for transparency, none of those things we're going to roll out before anyway. Like they're really cool things. Like the Mellow vinyl is freaking beautiful. Lord of the Files, I think it's going to be a really fun, interesting experiment. The hoodie is that freaking, I know Steve knows this one at least, but that freaking awesome black thick hoodie that we've got the rainbow puke hap on. It's like we got that same blank again, and like we're excited about all that stuff. But those things we're gonna roll, some of them we're gonna roll a lot closer to TGE, actually, not beforehand, because like although they're awesome, those aren't market cap moving kind of like excitement garnering things outside of our small echo chamber. Like when you look at kind of the global market of people who participate in centralized and decentralized exchanges and buying in on a TGE, they're not like, oh, Lord of the Files and a Mellow vinyl, this is going to do it for me. You know, that's like, that's not really the thing that's going to move the needle in a big way. I think we think that our little chamber of Web3 has a lot bigger impact than it really does. There are a lot of things there are a lot of people in this world, and a lot of them are interested in crypto, and probably almost none of them have seen either of those announcements. They were intended, though, to come a lot closer to the airdrop in order to kind of give some immediate syncs, some immediate experiences, some immediate things that people could start doing, and to show some of the first steps into the concepts of how Dude will be used. And those were purposefully delayed due to the delays in the airdrop, some of the token movement, et cetera. Like we didn't feel like, you know, an airdrop that took longer than we expected and a token trajectory that was moving down a bit more than we wanted was followed up immediately super well with like, would you now like to buy something, sir? So we kind of actually paced those out a little bit slower than expected, but not by too much.
That's fair. Makes sense.
Yeah, thoughtful and high. Like, it's interesting because, like, I think we got ourselves in this immediate. I think this thing happens, and we get guilty of it too, where we have these conversations around, okay, there's a token drop. What's going on to pump the price? And then you realize, like, when a team is building a product and building an ecosystem, you don't necessarily want them saying, let's pump the price day one and get this thing unrealistic, but rather thinking about how you're going to tier it out and make it work. And so, like, it's a lot of, like, unsurprisingly, a lot of thought that went into it, which I do appreciate as we kind of talk that through. Before we get through the token talk, because obviously that was big news, and I'm excited personally to talk a lot of DreamNet and kind of dig in on that a little bit more, as well as, you know, like, especially, by the way, launching a token like Burnt Toast, just had a baby, by the way, if he's listening, congrats on the sex, but just had a baby like crazy, you know, and going through a token launch after all that. But Joey Valls, you probably have token questions, I'm guessing, or maybe Burnt Toast baby questions. I don't know. But go ahead and get in here, Joey, and feel free to ask anything you want to ask there.
Hey guys, yeah. For Burn Toast, if you're listening, tactical baby gear, it's the absolute best you can buy as a dude with a baby. The fanny packs, the front carriers, the quote unquote diaper bag backpack, tactical baby gear, highly recommended. I actually bought our friend Poppy a tactical baby gear fanny pack as a gift when he had his child. So highly recommend it. Second, I want to say thank you guys for coming on. I've said for years now, if I could buy stock in Doodles, I would. I love your guys' business model. I think you guys have a really cool brand. I do have a couple questions about the token. So the first one, and the most obvious, is you guys are on Base. DreamNet's being built on Base. Why launch on Solana and then force people to bridge to Base if Dude is going to be a major part of DreamNet?
Yeah, that's an interesting question in the moment, and I will dance around some points of it and be clear about some others. So, like one thing that I think we talked about on this space with the boys before is that really at TGE for a token there is one primary goal, which is the ability for retail and for buyers to be able to easily participate in the purchase of the token and to get into the ecosystem, to spread the amount of holders as much as you can, and to create a healthy and stable volume and liquidity. And one of the things that we always try to do is, when finding the right infra play for a product, is find what is the user experience that we're trying to drive, what is the way that we want people to engage with this particular product, and where's the best place to buy that or participate in that, and that's going to give kind of the most beneficial and pleasurable experience for everyone who partakes in it. And so when it comes to the why launch on Solana, it's that the onboarding for people to be able to purchase from fiat, the kind of ecosystem of ability to purchase through decentralized exchanges, the relationships with centralized exchanges, not just in the US, but all over the world. Like, there's a lot of good there to be done for the early adoption of a token. So that's kind of like the first part of things, is when we think about the token as this as a product in and of itself. When making that decision, we decided that Solana was the best place for it. The volume, onboarding, ease of use, ability to trade, all of those things are really top tier in that ecosystem. When it comes to the use of Dude across the rest of our ecosystem and its use in DreamNet and everything else that we do, we'll be making some announcements here probably in the next couple weeks about how that infrastructure is going to be set up. Some of our infrastructure partners, how different elements of that ecosystem are going to really come to fruition and come into play. But the goal there, once again, is to put the end user product in the best place that we can, and then to use the tools at our disposal to make any sort of friction in between where a user is and where they want to be as low as possible. Fortunately, there's been so much innovation in our space around bridging, around swapping, around the kind of merging and distribution of liquidity pools, that we feel that it's very feasible and probably beneficial in the long term for us to think in as much of a multi-chain strategy as we can, and to make Dude a token that, once again, lives in the place where the users are, that are going to be the most likely to adopt and enjoy the product that it's going to be used in. So there'll be more details around some of that stuff later, but it always starts with the user and where we think the infrastructure and the tooling is best for that user for that use case, and any of the problems in between, we do our best to solve for.
Yeah, and I would just add there that the decision to launch on Solana was very much not a Rick Rubin vibe coding type of decision. We did actually quite a bit of user surveying at the top of the year about just like reaching out to our community and like some people we know who were sort of like heavy speculative token traders, and just, where are you trading? Where are you trading tokens right now? Solana? Are you trading on Base? Are you trading on mainnet ETH? Like, there was consideration as to where people were at, and I think Austin always says it, and I think it's a good little Austin quip. But we like to meet our community where they're at, and everyone at the time, and for the most part still is, trading tokens in that way on Solana. And we've never really been chain tribalists in any way, and I think you're seeing a lot of people in the space move away from that sort of like tribalism and like pure dedication to keeping everything in one place, like with Klanos, doing things on Sui and things like that. And it's just like, where can you, like Squinch said, where can you get that best experience? Where can you, provide for your users the best? Because at the end of the day, like, that is the goal of this space, is not necessarily to be solely dedicated and focused in one place, but to provide your users and your community with the best experience that you can with the tools that are available in the space.
The last thing that I'll add, Joey, real quick too, is that and I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about TG, like token adoption, et cetera, is that like the way that our X feeds work and the way that algorithm, distributes stuff to us, recognizes that tribalism pretty strongly. And like, I don't, for example, I don't see Mad Lads stuff, like, ever. I know that they're out there. I know that they're always cooking. I know those people are showing up. Like, I don't see, previous to this, I didn't see Solana ecosystem stuff showing up in my world. And that means that they're not seeing us either when we are Ethereum Base, previously Flow. Each of those little communities kind of ends up in their own bubble. And whatever we can do to like reach out and spread the gospel of Doodles and then bring them back into the experiences is the way that we find the most robust, creative, and exciting community that we can. And so like being able to bring that into their ecosystem to kind of like speak to that new group of people who maybe don't know about us and to excite them around the brand and the things we're doing is another big piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, I appreciate the you said you were going to dance around it, and it actually sounds like, to me, you gave a very well thought out response and didn't do much dancing. So I appreciate that. And it's always one of the questions I had. The same question I had, with Pengu, and they were like, well, Abstract hadn't launched yet, so they wanted, and I was like, well, why didn't you wait till Abstract? So I think how you break it down makes total sense. And then the last question, which I guess will lead into Steve's questions about DreamNet, is if DreamNet is going to be like your, and I'm making an assumption here, but I'm assuming DreamNet's going to be like your flagship, outside, of course, obviously the amazing art and the shorts and things like that. Was there ever consideration put into, we should not launch Dude until DreamNet launches, so people can actually put Dude to use and to work, versus it, and I don't know when DreamNet's going to launch, but let's just pretend Dude just sitting in the open market for 6 months until DreamNet launches with not much for people to do with it. Like, what was that thought process?
Yes. So that definitely was a thought process. That was something that we thought carefully about. Hold on. How the hell do I turn this off? I've got this thing that tries to keep me off of X, and it told me I have 5 minutes before it stops me from being on it anymore. So I might get booted.
Is it one of those? Is that thing on your phone where it's like you're spending too much time on social media?
Yeah, it's like my time sensitive. It's my time sensitivity thing where it's like, don't
at 9:30 a.m.
Don't kill yourself, bud.
At 9:30 a.m. You're already getting cut off. Do we need to have another conversation?
I think my setting is for like 15 minutes. So, yeah. So I when it comes to that, really, we talked about it a lot. We looked into it a lot, and there were definitely a lot of considerations around it. A couple of like main elements there is that Dude is not just for DreamNet. Dude is, a token that is a reflection of the brand in a lot of different ways. Will be used throughout our ecosystem, both on the brand side, on the kind of more traditional gaming side, on the merchandise side, on the partnership side, and then also in DreamNet. So first, we have to take into consideration that although my expectation is that DreamNet will create a lion's share of the value for the company, for the crypto ecosystem, for our community, et cetera, over time. In the near term, it's just one piece of that puzzle. Furthermore, the way that DreamNet is designed is that one of the first features that we're going to be launching there is an agent terminal that creates IP swarmed agents that work together to tell a story, create experiences, and really start to flesh out our world. And there is an opportunity to do that, especially because they are tokenized agents. That feels a lot like everything else has always felt when it comes to a wrapped chatbot with a meme coin stapled on it. Due to some of the economic structures that we're putting in place and some of the ways that we're developing the system, it is essential that those tokens are not only paired together, but that they perform a function within the ecosystem. We don't want meme coins on agents for the sake of meme coins on agents. Speculating on shill bots is not kind of within our worldview. Instead, those tokens are used as weighting mechanisms within that ecosystem. In order for us to appropriately get an alpha out, to test the mechanics that we want to test, to have people within our community start to play with that and really kind of perfect those mechanics before bringing that live, we needed to have that economic structure in place first. So we don't want people, we didn't want our community being able to come in early, start to create these characters, start to play with these features, and kind of experience this new model of storytelling, only to say like, all right, that was the fake one, wipe that off the slate, let's start again. We want them to be early. We want them to really be first. And so we needed to have all of these kind of tokens in our ecosystem early enough for us to be able to iterate appropriately on that product. So it really was a decision, both in part because the token is more than DreamNet, and the token is necessary for DreamNet to be appropriately tested, designed, and iterated on. And yeah, that's kind of the direction there.
Do we know?
Thank you, guys.
No, thanks, Joey. Good question. Do we know a timeline, or are we talking even? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but are we thinking DreamNet in weeks, months, years? What kind of like range? What are you looking at?
Yeah, so we're going to be going into community alpha this summer. I can tell us that it will be hot and humid in Ohio for now. Some of the ins and outs of when that alpha starts and when that alpha turns into a more open beta are dependent on some of these kind of final infrastructure and partnership decisions that we're making, as well as the feedback and iterations we make during that closed community alpha. But yeah, we're looking at within the next few months, there will start to be quite a lot showing up there for people to begin to play with.
And when you say closed community alpha, is that dude holders, or both?
So the initial group of characters are reserved for OG Doodles. They will be the first people who are able to come in. They will be our testing group, our feedback group, the group that we really refine this with, because it's their world, it's our world, and we want to make sure that that setup, that model is built with our community in mind, because making a truly collective story world without working with the collective in order to do so is something that not only doesn't feel right, but won't yield the best product. So yeah, that closed alpha is for OGs initially. It may open up to token holders.
I lost him, Steve. Just me?
It might have been his phone kicking him off. We're going to see.
Dude, you get put in timeout, bro.
Can I ask a question? Because I've just been chilling here listening, and I am a Doodles fan from afar. This sounds a lot like virtuals, and maybe I'm ignorant to that. Like what? Since you're both on base, and I'm totally biased because I launched a token on virtuals, right? Like, where do you see yourself kind of competing in this market? Maybe I missed the conversation in some way. It sounds similar to virtuals a little bit.
Yeah, like can we?
Yeah,
real quick,
in initial stages, there's a lot of similarity to virtuals and to other agent launch pads. I mean, like there's dozens of agent launch pads on the market. One of the things that we believe differentiates us, and a lot of the partners we've spoken to in the AI space and the blockchain space, things like that, differentiate us. Like you could really put it simply in the first phase as virtuals for IP, and we've heard that before. But I think the thing that that differentiates it is that there is this sort of like shared canon and world state of the world. So it's like there is this sort of library or index that is keeping track of all of the things that all of the agents are doing and saying. There's thresholds that take certain agents and make them canon in the Doodles universe. And what that looks like later on is being able to, vibe code a game or to spin up any sort of like content that you want to create with the content creation tools and be able to use that lore and that like index of canon in the story universe, and to use like your friend's doodle who's canonized and their official story, or have your doodle interact with other official canonized characters in the Doodles universe. So it is, I guess I would say, like in initial stages, again, it's an agent launchpad with a purpose and with a goal, and that goal is to create like a living, breathing world of stories.
Am I allowed to be like a third party interviewer here, Steve? Because like I can play devil's advocate here, because I have as someone who's used virtuals literally in my business, so like there's a lot of points I could make. Is that all right, or do I just
Hit it, brother?
Before we real quick, Jonah, before we dive down, can we give the very high level of DreamNet for people? Because I think I'm totally down for Jonah to actually jump in and go, but like just for people who maybe don't understand DreamNet, can you give the high level to our audience about like what it is on a very clear level? And then Jonah, I would toss back to you to kind of ask the questions, but I want everybody to have the same base level of information.
Yeah, so I think sorry, I got booted. I got over my X time for the day, but I'm back. I ignored my limit. I'm unleashed for the day. I think the most important thing is to start with the problem space rather than the particular feature set. Even this feature set that we're focusing on, that may be the first to market, is that the problem that we're engaging with here and that we're looking to solve. If you look at all of the best IPs in our space, if you look at a lot of kind of like burgeoning mid-size IPs outside of Web3, things that you'll see on YouTube, animated IPs, etc. One of the things that you can tell, like look at Pudgy Penguins, look at Azuki, look at us, Klainos, and then think about the base data that is available for the training of models and the use of that story world, that narrative, the amount of art that is available, and it is absolutely insignificant in comparison to that of mainstream media franchises. And that is a thing that takes decades upon decades and billions of dollars. So like even the best of us here who are writing as much as we can, producing the most art in the space, like you see from Doodles and some of these other projects, the amount of information that we have available to us to be able to leverage these kind of future entertainment systems is very, very low. And it will continue to be the case unless these companies can last for a very long time, are willing to reduce their quality, or are willing to spend tons of money in production to be able to flesh out that world, fill out the kind of bounds of that world, the characterizations, the stories, and the art. In order to fast track that process, we believe that the things that we already have available to us, the things that we've seen grow these brands like Pudgy, Azuki, Klainos, etc., into the place that they are, is due to this like kind of collective swell of both value sharing and the sharing of creativity and energy. And if these things can be aligned appropriately and all of the features of this system can be used in order to better clean and moderate the information being provided without bias, we will find ourselves in a place where we can create the size of brand and the size of data that is essential to the future of immersive content creation without the time and the budget required by these big studios by doing it together. So that's the very high level of it. There are some elements to it that I'm like generally reluctant to go into because I get buzzworded and fucking it's like too heady. But the idea is to grow that world through the things that we have available to us. Now, the kind of core ideas that we will always make sure are at the heart of the things that we're building with DreamNet is maximizing freedom of creation from the individual creators, and that all products that we build are focused on the cleaning, moderation, and weighting of coherent data into that set. So that's kind of the rundown of the purpose and value of DreamNet. The individual products are all means to that end.
All right, that makes sense, and I appreciate you giving like the overview and the strategic point of view, because and Jonah, feel free to hop back in here and kind of ask the questions, because I think you're deep in this world and can do so. But it's good. Oh, go ahead, Cap.
You got me thinking too with that explanation, because I agree, it is kind of heady. I'm genuinely excited about DreamNet. I think I'm pretty tech savvy. I think I'm pretty deep in not deep like our friend Bunchu deep, but I use AI every single day. It's part of my life. I couldn't do what I do today every day without it, or would take me more time to do what I do. So but I still am not quite connecting all the dots, or it is more, where I'm going with this is, we were just talking before you jumped on the show about Kaido. And I think both Steve and I agree that something like Kaido probably doesn't make sense for a Dude launch, the launch of Dude. It just, maybe it would have driven a little extra attention, but it wasn't, I don't think, necessary in this space. However, we were talking conversely, something like DreamNet may make a lot of sense because it is more complex. It is deeper and something that people may not just get with their initial flyover. Whether Kaido or wall chain with Quacks or your own program, is that something you're thinking about as DreamNet Alpha or launch gets here? Is like whether internal or working with some of these other, I know what you call them, InfoFi, decentralized agencies. Is that something you've thought about, or what are your just general thoughts on things like Kaido and this new model that we're seeing?
Yeah, 100%. And we're talking to some people in that space. I think like one of the things that Doodles has struggled with overall in our space is it really is mindshare. Like it's not the quality of the art, can't be. It's not the quality of the partnerships, it can't be. It's not the quality of the Web2 reach. It is the way that we kind of spread that message within our space, and the way that we kind of pass on the wins of our community, the growth of the brand outside of that echo chamber that we were talking about. And a lot of that tooling is very valuable in doing that, and a lot of strategies that have been ignored in the past in order for us to put our focus into kind of those core pillars that I mentioned previously is kind of a renewed focus for us coming into the rest of this year, coming into DreamNet as kind of its own standalone entity and product. It's definitely like a clear need from us, which utilities will use in order to achieve that are still kind of being debated and decided on. But we definitely don't have like a opposition to the use of those sort of feature sets.
No, that tracks, and and like, it's funny because it gets out in front of something I was thinking about, is how you grow the community now that you have this sort of new product and new direction going. But Jonah, feel free to jump in with your questions now. Appreciate you letting us get that explanation off so that everybody's there, because I think your questions will be more impactful now.
Hey, Steve, because the people in the war room are still curious, what's the 60-second elevator? Like, don't go deep. Like, if you were in an elevator with somebody, what is DreamNet in 60 seconds or less?
DreamNet is a way for a community and a group of fans to be able to build a story world together.
My son just smiled silently because he does this because actually this, and real quick, and again I promise we'll go back to Jonah because I'm curious what he's going to ask, but like this is like the type of product where it's like, I mentioned this, how AI can enable this sort of thing. My son will tell me a story with incredible detail that is like a half hour long on a walk with our dogs, and I'll be like, oh, you just made all that up, that was cool. And then I'll hear him tell my wife the exact same story with the details, like he's almost has this photographic memory of it. It's like, but when he draws, he got his artistic talent from me. It doesn't exactly, he's not exactly burnt toast, I'll put it that way. And so the fact that he can, potentially use something like this to tell those stories and bring things to life through these sort of AI agents he creates, and actually create that IP in that way, like it's interesting if I'm grokking the concept correctly. And I think that like the use case is there to sort of like democratize ideas and IP and growth of storytelling together, and the best ones go to the top. And so I think that's interesting. And, the community that's sort of loyal and into it gets sort of the head start. I mean, Dude Lifts is going to, I think Dude Lifts is going to lose his job. I mean, he's got a great job, but the man's going to lose his job creating stories, I think, because he's been talking about this for years. But Jonah, go ahead and get in here with questions, as you want to ask them.
Yeah. So Virtuals has something very similar to this, but they're not based on IP. It's called their ACP, and it's basically this is where they're gonna go in Wave 3. So, Wave 1 was, initial hype. Wave 2, which is right now, is like some products coming to fruition, but more so it's the auction launch pad that people really care about. And then Wave 3 is once enough agents are, let's say, product ready, they're going to be imbued in this ACP, which is this large infrastructure tool that takes all the agents and makes them multi-purpose through a singular product for people who want to be a part of that. So I guess this is like your IP ACP. My one concern is, from what you described to me, it sounds like it not an ACP, but more like an MCP. An MCP being you have a specific. And by the way, I like your art, but there will be people who don't like your art, not because of the quality, but stylization, which is another factor of art. It's not about quality, but stylization.
100%.
I do wonder, because I get I want to know how it's not like an internal tool, because it almost sounds like one where it's a launch pad for a token, but it has to adhere to your stylization, which would make me think it's more of an MCP. And for people who don't know, that's basically a mechanism. That's like the new form of API, where you can take your AI agent or an AI and make it app specific to an already trained model, and that would be your MCP. So I'm a little confused on
If
that.
we're gonna use more M's and P's, the Doodles universe is the MVP. The structure of the data cleaning, moderation, and canonization process is the underlying like AI IP infrastructure, and the spinning out of other IP universes on top of that to essentially create a series of these worlds and a tool from which other kind of story related media franchises and IP brands are able to use this same thing is the structure and focal point of the white paper as a whole. Obviously through our relationships at Golden Wolf, through our other media relationships, et cetera, we have a lot of interest and interested parties that have IPs of similar to much greater size than Doodles that are interested in using this tooling for the growth of their world, the engagement of their community, and the tie-ins that this will make available for immersive media in the future. So I 100% agree that regardless of how much faith I have in our storytelling, our art style, et cetera, that's not the place where the entire infrastructure ends up. It really, the goal there is for it to be a method on which other people in a fully decentralized way, or coming from a more, I'm the creator and this is my creation and I want my community and my fans to be able to build this with me, can take part in it. The first instantiation of that and the first test case with that is really perfectly displayed in some of these Web3 IPs, and Doodles is obviously the one closest to our heart because we already have such a creative, engaged, and knowledgeable community in that area. And so it is that is the first way that it goes to market, but it's not its end state, because there's a cap.
You don't need to doodlefy everything. So you basically, from what I'm understanding, because I'm not reading your paper, not because I don't like it or something. I'm the type of person now where I refuse to read white papers.
Jonah, you don't have to explain yourself to me, man. Just ask the question.
Right. No. It's for the audience. I'm saying,
okay.
My perspective is I don't read white papers anymore, because if you can't explain your product to a normal person without a white paper, then it's probably a dead project, unless it's something very scientific.
To this, we did actually get a good question in the chat, and Joe, we'll go right back to you. But then, as a follow up, if any of you would what would be like the elevator pitch for DreamNet? How would you describe DreamNet in like 30 to 60 seconds?
Joey hit that a second ago.
Oh, go ahead.
Joey hit that a second ago. Go, Joey.
Yeah, he did. It was pretty good. Oh, okay. All right. So I'll go.
What question is being asked? Are you asking it again?
Yeah. No. So the question that's being asked is, so do you do a deal directly with the IP originator, and then from there you create a model where other people can build on top of that story, but have their own different utilities? Like, I guess if there was like I don't know, Captain Land, and it was this board ape, and people can make variations of that board ape, but it has to stick to a guideline. Like, what does the actual process look like for an original IP creator?
Yeah, so we're working with a handful of IPs and kind of looking at the level of moderation and controls that would be useful and interesting to them. There is a barometer for us, once again, like I was saying, in making sure that we provide the maximal freedom and the least amount of kind of like bias at the top, not only for the ability for that data to move quickly and seamlessly into that world state, but also just for the way that we really think about IP and co-creation as a whole. But there are some concessions in that freedom potentially to be made in order to really make happy and find the appropriate partners in some of those IPs. And so like we're kind of shifting some of the levers there. But the goal would be that a group from, you know, a cartoon IP from an individual person like Captain Ape, etc., to be able to set those things up, as well as kind of something more freeform that comes out of a group of people, much like how a meme does, but in a way that is able to create something structured enough from which actual generative content and experiences can be made.
My last question would be, you know, how do you compete with virtuals if you're on the same chain? Again, I'm in the virtuals eco, so I'm biased, but behind the scenes, it is a massive community. Like, it's way bigger than people think, especially a lot of builders behind the scenes, and they are very, 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 very well capitalized since the last two runs. You know, they probably have at least 5 to 10 years of runway if they needed it. And I think the only other factor is that they are very degenerate in the ways that crypto likes, where they are very open to making tokens run up through auctions, through all sorts of mechanisms. So I guess the question would be for DreamNet, why do people need to launch tokens on there versus launching it on virtuals and then using your tech stack?
First of all, I'll just say that like I really respect that team, and it's like it's not there's no intention here necessarily to directly compete with the things that they're trying to do. I think that the reason that, I mean, one of the core reasons as to how launching something in virtuals and then running that through DreamNet would not be functional to the same purpose is due to focus. Granted, because of virtuals protocol structure, anything can be built on top of it to try to perform a you know, kind of like similar goal. But I think it a lot of it spans back to the way that the agents themselves and the agent launchpad is not the entirety of the product. It is the character part of what makes viable entertainment, story, and content. So there are a lot of other elements to making an information system that is able to supply us with endless content, games, and immersive experiences beyond just the characters themselves. And so in order for all of those things to work in harmony and to kind of flywheel each other into existence, there are more focused efforts to be made around the structure of that agent, you know, for its purpose. So like it's definitely viable, and I think that kind of thing can be done on virtuals. I think that, like you said, there's enough incredible builders over there that elements of the agent part of the stack could definitely be replicated on that side. But with our focus being building of a truly living world, not only from the character side, but from the places, the events, the acting out of these characters in these places through these events over time, and the story that creates is really the primary goal. The characters are a means to an end.
This all makes a lot of sense, and I actually think the more I use it, the more it'll kind of like even crystallize more. But this makes a lot more sense. And like one of the things that I think your team does well is when you built the studio, I was like, this is the type of thing that you could spin off from a B2B perspective. It's a really cool product. And then you kind of built it. You're building another thing, which is much further towards the where the puck is going, I think, which could be potentially spun off B2B and used in that way for the company. I guess like my question related to that, and before we let you get out of here, we'll let you say anything we might have missed, but like, this is really intriguing. The vision makes more sense to me, not just about DreamNet, but about the company itself and the direction you're heading. That said, now you have these sort of almost this, it's seemingly this two worlds where you have like, obviously Golden Wolf's doing their thing and they're kind of, pulling that together, but specifically to DreamNet and Doodles are the early test case for DreamNet, and people are going to participate and use it, and they're going to be the beta testers. It's going to be awesome. I'm sure there will be some sort of rewards associated with that just because, the earliest users, and crypto works that way often. But how once DreamNet, let's say DreamNet is a smashing success and, companies want to utilize it, how do you think about the divide there between you have this native NFT community brand, but then you're going to be taking off in this massive way if it's wildly successful, sort of with this software that all these other companies are using? How do the OG Doodles sort of fit into this equation if you do meet that like grandiose sort of larger goal as a company with the shot you're taking?
When you look at many kind of co-created entertainment ecosystems, you could take like Fortnite as an example. The end user experiences are a blend of those created by the primary IP holder, the company itself, and those created by the community, those created by partners. And through the distribution of those different elements, there are many various ways of being able to promote, highlight, and bring to the top the internally created or kind of most clean, favorite, and most fun elements of that ecosystem. And so in a similar way, although we imagine this multiverse of story worlds to be very expansive, there will always be essentially kind of one mascot, one foundational universe. And there are a lot of ways that we can leverage that within our Web 2 content, within our growth as a whole, and then within DreamNet as a platform. So I think that it being the test case and it being kind of our where our like heart really lies from a content creation and community perspective will allow us to serve that purpose to continuously drive attention and value back to the Doodles ecosystem.
Got it. So yeah, it's just the keeping the holders top of mind and that sort of thing makes sense and kind of how you're pushing it forward. But the vision is much more crystallized this morning, and I'm glad. Well, first of all, before we let you guys get out of here and anything else you want to say, congratulations on the launch. I know that launches are exhausting and they're very tough. Everybody's got an opinion, myself and Cap not excluded from that. I think a lot of clarity on the way you're thinking about that was really helpful on the front end of this. Excited to see where DreamNet ultimately goes, especially hearing summer beta. That's sort of a new thought process for me. I didn't know when that was coming, so that's exciting to hear as well. Anything that we didn't, I mean, I know we didn't go deep on Lord of the Files or anything, but Cap's participating, very cool. Anything that we missed or didn't cover this morning that you wanted to make sure you got across to the audience? Because I think, again, very clear explanations of all the things, and appreciate you taking the time to do so.
I mean, one thing that I want to say is like, you got the product and community guys on right now. So like our artists, Dottie, at the kind of head of Golden Wolf and content at Doodles, Sammy Moore, Burnt Toast, obviously, the whole gang over there, the things that they're doing with our content, with our the growth of that content and our Web 2 partners is just as, if not more exciting than the stuff that we're doing on product. We are the people who show up on crypto Twitter and talk about stuff, and crypto Twitter tends to be, blockchain nerd people. So we hear about that more, but I'm like hyper fucking stoked for what's happening on the more Web 2 side of world building this year, on the ways that we're going to get Doodles in front of a lot more people in a lot of really interesting and honestly hysterical ways. So like, this is just, like I said, kind of at the beginning, this is just one piece of the puzzle of the Doodles and the Dude ecosystem overall. So that's just a call out I want to make. Second, I just want to shout out to Jonah. We never talked before. Read your shit for a long time. I really appreciate the back and forth. So thanks, man.
Oh shit, who is this? Do I follow you?
I don't know. I don't even know if I follow you, but I've read your
Dude,
shit for a long
I
time.
literally can't. Dude, this Twitter is so fucking broke. Like
It
everyone
sucks.
is a listener. So who said that?
Squinch. Yeah.
Squinch. Oh, I do follow you. All right,
Bro,
hell yeah.
you know.
Hey, look at that.
Oh my gosh, one of my 3,000 followers. I'm a fucking celebrity. Cool. Yeah, that's it. Just shout out to everyone who had questions, Joey, everybody who came up, and just like keep your eye on the fact that that Doodles is a lot more than the nerds in this room. Cap and Steve. If you ever want to talk to the creative side, we've got some people over there who are cooking some shit that's really just like above and beyond a lot of the stuff that's happening in the space that we're super excited about.
Yeah, jumping off of that, because I was going to give a shout out to Golden Wolf as well. And for those who don't know, we own a world-class animation studio who works with partners like Coca-Cola, Samsung, Disney, Fortnite, Adidas, TikTok, like you name it. They're creating content for these brands, and which puts us in the room a lot of times. And beyond the potential for brand partnerships, there, one of the things that keeps us so motivated on DreamNet is the common problem that we keep seeing and that we're looking to solve for is that a lot of these brands see that content and whether it's long or short form, the way that content is moving in today's world is that people want to sort of incubate these like character mascots for their brand and these stories for their brand. We're seeing that a whole bunch where brands come in the door and they're like, how do we get to 3-minute episodes about a character? How do we get to a TV show? How do we do this? Like they're now competing for mind share with through platforms beyond just TV commercials, but it's YouTube, it's Netflix, it's like the places where people are consuming the content is changing. And one of the things that we've looked at for a long time, and that always sticks in my head, is like through talks with a pretty major sports league, and I hope I'm not spilling too many beans here as far as what they may or may not have disclosed publicly, but they were interested in working with Golden Wolf to basically create some like lore and characterization around their mascots. And it was like, as you mentioned earlier, Steve, like there is a lot of potential for like B2B opportunities with things like the studio and the avatar system and things like that, but that doesn't get anybody any closer to stories. And so something like DreamNet and like the problem that we're looking to solve there is like, how do we let anyone who is interested in creating this like story universe and creating sort of an IP or brand marketing around a character or a set of characters, the opportunity to decentralize that in order to put it into hyperdrive and to get there faster. And that's like hearing those things all the time through talks that Golden Wolf is having and through our talks with brand partners about the things that they're interested in and that they want to incubate in order to be able to participate in what they think is like the next wave of content marketing keeps us, even more focused than our actual passion of like telling stories and building worlds and things like that, because it is not just a storytelling problem that we're solving, it's a brand marketing problem as well.
Love that. Pocky, send us off with a vibe.
Dude, send us off with a vibe. I mean, like, listen, I could jump in and try to razzle dazzle some more than what these guys have, and explain everything in a more technical way. But I think the thing that I'm really, really excited for is like just like decentralizing storytelling, putting people in a way to where, similar to your son, when they have these creative minds and they're able to see these extremely vivid stories with unique characters and crazy worlds. But can't necessarily get that out of their brain. So it just becomes this sort of trapped idea, emotion, or just thing that they're like dreaming and believing in. And so being able to put people in a position to tell their stories in a way that not only can it be like represented with like insane art, but it can also be put out there for other people to interact with and continue to build off of and spar new ideas from seeing that like, oh, this person was creating this and now all of a sudden your entire rabbit hole just went 1,000 feet deeper, and being able to contribute in that way. And so I think the future, obviously, the more and more we progress, gets more Black Mirror every day in like the coolest possible way is what I mean. And so it's going to be insane to see what all stories, dreams, and just kind of like ideas are going to be able to come from people that DreamNet will help breathe some life into. So that's what I'm most excited for, man.
Love that. Well, look, again, thanks all three of you for joining us this morning. Congrats again on the launch. Always it's easier for people from the sideline to have opinions on it. When you're living in it, it's very, very difficult. Totally empathize with that. So good job, y'all. And looking forward to continuing seeing the product built out. You gave a lot of clarity, I think, to myself and a lot of other people about the future of this. So really grateful for this. And we will definitely take you up on bringing some of the art people on to talk a little bit about that. So enjoy the day, boys.
Yo, thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
Cap, I mean, one of the things I like about the team, a couple things about this. One, they're not afraid of debate and discussion, right? Like, like shout out to Jonah for challenging and Joey with some tough questions. I think that was good. I actually have, here's my hot take leaving it is that like, there is no better team, at least from the PFP community-based brand at building B2B potential software than Doodles. And I say that because I thought the studio, as far as a model for a potential loyalty platform, is really interesting. Now, there are different things they could have done, certainly in different ways they could have utilized it, which, I mean, people will debate, the team will debate, but I think that was a really cool piece of B2B software. The fact that they have their eye on the prize of making this a piece of B2B software, and they have people who can build IP that are in place to potentially use it as a test sort of testing ground, it feels like a natural evolution of that studio where people were sort of dressing up their doodles and wanting to tell stories around them, but now being able to use AI for that. I don't know. Like, I feel they built like, and the other thing I want to flag, and I don't know if you got this too, like we sort of are like, this is 101 stuff. Why didn't people think of this? You hear that a lot in the timeline. What I'm hearing is, at least on the surface, they thought through all of the things that we had as concerns, which I think is gives a lot more strong faith in everything that's being built than maybe some people initially had, where they just look at, $75 million market cap, and I thought it would be 500. A lot deeper thought than that as far as how they built around it. Is my general takeaway.
Yeah, I'm and another takeaway was I think good move, maybe great move, that they're launching it with a closed alpha for just the community. For a couple of reasons. I think that, and from the Doodle holder standpoint, there is real utility coming there, and again, it's an alpha, it's a test, but and I should have shared this when they were on the stage. I'll pass it along afterwards, maybe. But we had a few comments or questions or requests for an explainer video or a short animation or something visual to break down DreamNet as it gets closer. I do think that would help, and I'll double down on the take on whether it's Kaido or internal or wall chain. One of these, get others helping share this story, because it does seem. I think maybe it's because it is just new, right? It's a novel thing of its own. It's not a Virtual's competitor, but yet I think that's what a lot of people are probably going to liken it to on the surface. So I think just getting more people talking about it's going to be a good thing. Getting the community in there to use it first, I think, is going to be a good thing. So excited, looking forward to following along. I still have questions, but it's not questions that they're in a spot to answer today. It's when the thing launches, then what? And then the questions will make sense. But I really appreciate the big swings. It's something different, and was venting earlier this week that it feels like we've went backwards from an innovation standpoint, and things that gets me excited about sharing with my friends and people who aren't here. What's this cycle's Top Shot or Zed Run? Like, it's not pump fun. Like nothing against people that want to trade the trenches or launch coin. It's just like, the people who are here that cool. There's another one. They can go farm it. They can make money doing it. Awesome. Most people that aren't here have almost zero interest in doing something like that. And while I'm trying to think through, even like my friends who are deep in AI but not in crypto, Virtuals isn't a hit for them. Like, they're not at a point, like, they don't see the need of creating their agent, token on it as an agent. Like, that's not caught their attention. Something like this might. Like, I don't know. Time will tell. But it's I do. I would love to see more of this across the space of let's get back to not just copy and pasting another token launchpad because that's what has mindshare right now. Let's use this tech to do new things and innovate, and that the highest level that gets me excited.
Yeah, it's like it's. I think a lot of people weren't quite understanding what the swing was initially.
Me,
and I think
I'm one of them.
Yeah. And now I think having a better understanding of like the idea of what they're trying to do, how they're doing it, like it makes me even more excited about it. And again, like it's a thing where it's like, I think you mentioned at the beginning, and I think this is probably a noteworthy thing. Like this isn't low effort. Like that's the thing. Like they don't do things that are low effort, which I think at the bare minimum, like whether you appreciate it, whether you don't, like even they admit they're like, we have an attention problem compared to other brands and we need to work on that. And yeah, we'll look into those things. It's like they're relatively transparent. They're open to feedback and people coming at them and willing to have those conversations. And yeah, I don't know. It's a very, it's funny. Rare Ed, I talked their attention and Rare Ed said Frank Degas doesn't have a job right now. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited to see like ultimately where they net out and what they do, as they continue to build it. But like, I'm more excited today to use DreamNet than I was when it was initially launched. Like I think I think there's more I don't know. I think that there's a lot more. I think we learned a lot today about like direction, how they think about things. So I'm excited. I'm and I'm excited to have the art team on and talk about that because at the same time, while they're building this, to the point Squinch and Greeny were making, they're not putting on pause that the IP's out there and they're having conversations. And he kind of hinted at like a very funny and interesting way that we're going to get in front of a lot more people. So they're not stopping that end of the business, but they're just building out something that is potentially a product that we can all get excited to use in the future. So
yeah,
anyway.
And they are, to your point, like not low effort. They've done a lot of things. I understand their decisions on not hyping it up pre-launch, and these things aren't token price movers anyways. So I agree with that. I just pinned a couple more up top. Helio. It's not a Doodles thing, but yet that's the example they use in their announcement today. Helio just announced token discounts have just dropped. Merchants can now offer discounts for purchases in specific tokens from USDC to community tokens like Doodles. Community rewards, crypto payment incentives, marketing fuel, live now on Helio and Solana Pay for Shopify. And the video is someone going and purchasing a hat. I don't know if Doodles paid for that. That could be earned media. You would know better than I, but and then the follow-up comment is for a limited time, Doodles is offering 10% discount. You pay with Dude. So probably a collaboration. They're probably paid engagement. Fine. It's still good. That's also people like, to their point, someone's not going to go out and buy the Dude token so they can buy something else. And it's going to like enough where it's going to be a material impact on price action. I also shout out to our sponsors, Beezy. They just restocked their claw. Pin that up top if you want to get a nice sweat on the claw pool this afternoon. Use your Dude. They integrated Dude. So we're seeing third-party protocols, third-party apps start already integrate the token for use. I'm not a big fan of more currencies, but when there's discounts applied, like it does make sense. It's not in itself the end all be all. I'm just sharing all these things. Like it doesn't just happen. Like there's a lot of effort and work that's went into getting to this point, and I'm looking forward to the beta or the alpha rather. And yeah, I agree. I think it would be beneficial to bring to pull together some videos, some animations, some visual explainers as opposed to 20-page white paper and in Spaces. Like this is hard to like people who are here that probably helped today, but people who aren't Spaces listeners, digestible. And yeah, could someone clip something and get out there? Sure. I think coming from them in a easy to digest short things that start more explainer videos, I think could be very helpful in getting the word out there, what DreamNet is and how it's different than what we've seen today in the marketplace.
Yeah, agree. I agree. And hopefully we get to see more of that as it comes out. But yeah, good. I mean, good conversation. That said, any other cleanup before we let everyone get out of here?
I think we didn't hit it all. Check all those pin posts up top. We didn't dive too much into Apple, Fortnite. Coincidentally, I was going to tie that together with Doodles because those are two of the rumored partners that may be announced here in the future. But all in all, I think we ran the gamut this morning, Steve. Good day. Appreciate everyone who added to the conversation.
Good day for sure. Definitely enjoyed the conversation. That said, we'll let everyone sail off into their weekend. Thanks to everybody who came through this morning. We will talk to everybody bright and early Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.